Talking 49ers rookie class, the scouting report, and the fit in the 49ers scheme for second-round cornerback out of Florida State, Renardo Green. The uniform numbers are out as well, and to be honest, it's kind of ugly. All that more on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you, as always, at BD Peacock, at Crocky209. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We love our everydayers. We love it when you jump in on the live chat. A little extra special lunchtime live here for us today. Didn't get the pod out last night or early this morning as we usually do due to some post-draft travels. But we're here with you right now, and we appreciate the everydayers. Make sure you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and my competitive side is a huge fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play. Number 31, rookie cornerback Renardo Green. More on the numbers a little bit later. I think we're going to have to look past that number right now on Renardo Green. Look at his college number, which was number 8, right? For the Florida State Seminoles. And what kind of player Renardo Green Croc was on tape. I know we've watched a little bit more tape on him now post-draft. We did during the live stream, we broke down some of his tape and picked the right one against Malik Neighbors of LSU. And he was phenomenal in that game. There's been some question on whether or not Renardo Green's going to play outside or inside for the San Francisco 49ers. So let's start with what we saw on the tape, and a player that was maybe all over the place on sort of analyst boards, Croc, but the Niners really liked this guy, drafted him with the last pick in the second round. What does the tape tell you about Renardo Green's game and how he fits for the 49ers?
I think first, especially for me, and I think we identified this together, I like to look at movement skills. How does he move? Is this guy twitchy, sudden? How is his feet? Does he click and close well? Well, I think we were able to identify right away, easy mover, which essentially means he's a fluid athlete. I didn't see anything that was like overly bursty, but also didn't see guys run away from him when he was impressed. Outside of the very, 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 very first clip against LSU, Brian Thomas just took off like straight up field, and the separation was like 5 yards, and we're like, oh man, I don't know about this Green kid. But as we continue to watch the film, we saw a lot of good. I learned that he is super competitive, and not just in that film. Any film you put on that film, you put on the Florida film against Ricky Pearsall. In every game I watched, it was a guy that wanted to really compete. And if I was a receiver, I would go into any game that I have to play against Green knowing I got to bring my hard hat, because this guy is going to be consistent and bring it every single rep.
Duda is the nickname, by the way. Renardo Duda Green. And you're right. I love the competitiveness right away that you saw on tape from him. Letting Malik Neighbors know about it, right? When the attempt in the end zone was incomplete, he let him know about it, and he's physical throughout the rep. Maybe too physical at times, Croc, a little grabby at times that maybe you can get away with in the college game. And we see this with offensive linemen as well. Hand placement might be a little bit bad, maybe a little too grabby, something that has to be cleaned up going into the pros, or you might get flagged. Did you see somebody who was a little too grabby at the top of routes at cornerback in Renardo Green?
I say this. Show me a man corner that's not grabby, and I'll show you a man corner that stays on the sideline, does not play. Those guys are going to be a little grabbier. And obviously, with me, and this was the same with Talanoa Hufanga, let me coach you to be less aggressive as opposed to trying to teach somebody to be more aggressive. So can he be a little grabby at times? Definitely saw that on film. Do I think that that's something that would discourage me from drafting him if I like his man cover skills? Absolutely not. Richard Sherman and those guys in the Legion of Boom, their whole thing was we'll hold you every play. They're only going to call it so many times, right? So I think if you kind of take that approach, and obviously not to that extreme, but just knowing going in that, hey, this guy's going to be grabby, he may get flagged, once every 2 games, but more so than not, his competitiveness and his aggressiveness throughout routes is what's going to have him competing with probably some of the best receivers that you play against.
And Croc, who else is sometimes a little bit grabby? Charvarius Ward. Yep. And it's worked out so far for him in his career.
He's very grabby, and I don't think that 49er fans would say, oh man, it's such an issue that because he's so grabby. And that's not that to say he hasn't been flagged. It's not to say he hasn't been flagged in a key moment. One of them I thought was BS, but that is just knowing that, hey, he's going to bring this certain level of physical play each time he steps on the field. And that's not something that I discourage from any guys. Even my players that coach in high school, like, hey, take a guy's head off. And if we get flagged for it, we get flagged for it. We'll talk about how we have to adjust to the refs, but I don't want you to change the way that we play unless it's truly, truly hurting us.
I'm trying to think of which prospect it was that we watched. It might have been DJ James, who was really athletic and didn't grab enough, we thought. Right? It was him.
The kid from Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn, right. And it was like, you got to be a little bit more physical because you can't let these dudes just go out there and make catches for free. And so I like the competitiveness from Renardo Green, and I liked how smooth he moved. Let's go back to the workout numbers just to kind of get a mental picture. If you haven't watched a lot of Renardo Green, what the 49ers might have here. The combine is 5'11" and 7/8, 186 pounds at his pro day. He gained 1/8 of an inch somehow and 5 pounds. So he was 6 feet, 191 there. So, 6 feet, 190. That's about what you're getting in Renardo Green. 31-inch arms. He's got a 4.49 40. He didn't rerun at his pro day, which tells me that's a pretty good time for him.
And it's smart because the combine track is a fast track. So
fast track. Yeah.
If you run a solid time there, back in the day, it's like, oh, let's wait until our pro day. That surface is probably slower. You're much better off running at the combine.
You want that quick trigger finger from at least one scout at your pro day because you get credit for whatever the fastest one that somebody tells that they got you at. But if you're 4.49, you don't want to show up your pro day and run 4.50. So you kind of stick with that. You're like, cool, I got my sub 4.5, 4.49 40-yard dash. 1.57 10-yard split is one of the slower times for the cornerback class. I didn't have a problem with his short area movements though, Croc. He was smooth mover, as you said. It seemed like he had really good feet. 37.5-inch vertical, 10'10" broad jump. He didn't run a 3-cone, ran 4.28, which is, not amazing. Short shuttle. So testing numbers and size wise, he doesn't look
average a little bit. Kind of average.
Pretty average height, weight, speed guy. Although 6 feet, 190 is good size for a corner generally, but he doesn't look very big on film for some reason to me. It looks a little skinny. I don't know. Maybe I'm just off on that, but
I think it's the way he puts his uniform on.
But you think so?
I don't care for the swag, the drip. There are certain people that just know how to put a uniform on and they look really good in their uniform. And there are others that put it on and it's just not quite the same. It's just not quite the same. And when I see him put his uniform on, you can have two guys put the exact same thing on, like exactly how he does. And it just looked drastically different from one guy to another. The way he put his uniform on, it looked kind of like, it wasn't all that. It wasn't very swaggy. And I think that made him look maybe a little bit smart. Wore his pants like a little bit longer, like a little bit, just certain things. There's like little tricks to the trade. And for somebody like me, a thinner guy, I knew that I had to wear my socks a certain way. If I wear my socks like this, then my legs are going to look skinnier. But if I do this, then it makes my legs look like they have a little bit more girth to them, So there's just ways of kind of working it. Clearly, he doesn't care. He's just all about playing football. And the football that he played got him drafted in the second round to the 49ers. But with you just saying, he doesn't look 6 foot 190. He looks 5'10", 180, 182. Right?
Yeah, that's what it felt like I was watching on tape when I was watching him. That's good to know, though, Croc. I didn't realize you could skip leg day and then throw your socks on different, and it looks like you've been doing calf raises. So that's
man, definitely color socks that you wear. white always makes your legs look a little bit bigger. So if you wear, white socks, scrunch them up, Odell Beckham style, it just looks like, oh, now he doesn't look as skinny, especially on film.
Speaking of,
to make you look faster on film. Like there's just all these little tricks to the trade.
Okay. Depends on if you need to look faster or you need to look bigger, how you wear those socks. Croc, speaking of uniforms, we got a uniform number for Renardo Green and the rest of the 49ers rookie class. More on Renardo Green, how he plays, his fit for the 49ers defense next. This episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You've already heard about that, but there's so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends. Well, first of all, you can crush your friends and steal their loot and charge them rent on all the iconic Monopoly properties. But you can team up with your friends if that's the way you want to play it as well. There's time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you can unlock. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes and cool new playing pieces. I mean, back in the day, right? Monopoly, it's all about the playing pieces. So Monopoly Go, play with your friends, play against your friends. There's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers, and that can help you build up your boards and move up the leaderboards. Always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now, free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. All right, correct. Cornerback played outside corner as a senior, fifth-year senior, older prospect again, which was a theme in this draft class for the 49ers. At Florida State, played that outside cornerback position, but did play a little bit of a sort of almost a star nickel safety role earlier on in his career. Leads some to believe and speculate that he might play inside. I don't think the 49ers have declared exactly what the plans are going to be for Renardo Green and where exactly he's going to play. So some of that might be determined, and there's a ton of competition at cornerback for the 49ers in training camp. Where do you think he fits in best? And when we talk about, I want you to talk a little bit, since you're the right guy to talk to about this, Croc, because Renardo Green, good in press man coverage, right? There's the scouting report on Ricky Pearsall that maybe he's not as good against press man coverage. What are we talking about with press man coverage? Why would a wide receiver not be good against it? Why is Renardo Green good at utilizing it? And how often do the 49ers utilize press man coverage on defense with their corners?
Well, first, let's talk about Renardo Green. I think off top, the thing that jumps out to me with why he's so good at the line of scrimmage, he's extremely patient. Now, I got this corner right now. I'm coaching at my high school, Edison, out here in Stockton, and 6'2", long corner, but he's all over the place. So yesterday we're doing one-on-ones, and I had to slow it down. I said, look, throw out all technique. Don't think about any technique. Just play basketball. Like, just play basketball. Just be patient. Imagine it being Steph Curry at the top of the key, and you don't want him to get to the basket. How would you defend him? Are you going to open the gate so he could just run by you? Are you going to, start reaching with your hands? No, you're going to play with your feet, stay in front of him, be patient. And then once he makes his move, you're going to try to get hands on. And I think with Renardo Green, like, the thing that jumps out right away is he's very patient at the line of scrimmage. He doesn't get too anxious and think like, oh, I got to use my hands a whole lot and jam them up at the line of scrimmage and then end up lunging a little bit. A guy knocked the hands down. Now all of a sudden you're in trouble and your clock is sped up. So I think from that standpoint, he does a terrific job. Now, why a receiver, Ricky Pearsall, might not be as great? Some of it is just hands. A lot of it is hands. Being able to knock those hands down, to get those guys off you, having the strength to kind of lean into you and understanding these little nuanced things that help free you up. It's all about positioning, right? So if you're a receiver, can I move the corner right now at the line of scrimmage? You have to really move him and work to get outside of his frame and then work to kind of stack him. Now get him on your shoulder if you want, and then you can work away from him, and the more he has that ability. Is he consistent at it? I would say maybe needs some improvement. So doing those things, working those things, figuring out when you're doing one-on-ones during training camp, find one thing to get better at. If for him it's releases, don't worry about anything else. Just focus on, am I beating this guy and beating him in a timely manner, and how am I doing it, and getting better at that each day like that. And it's going to be tough just on air doing these things. Like, okay, anybody could do it. My guys, we do indies every day. Like, they look great on air, but once you get a guy in front of you, adrenaline starts rushing. You know, everybody's watching. Those training camp practices, you got thousands of fans out there. That's where you have to work to really put it together and start stacking practices on working on something specific. So hopefully 49ers do that and put your best press corner on them. Like, that's what I would do. I tell my guys, like, no, go against this guy. Go against Langdon Horace. That's our best receiver. He's the quickest guy. He's shifty. This is going to challenge my press corner the most to get him out of his comfort zone. Now, if you can work to lock him up at the line of scrimmage, then you could do it against anybody. And Pearsall, if I want him to get better at his releases, hey, Travarius, like, you go with him every single time. Get our rookie right. So that would be my way of doing it. As far as the 49ers and how much they press, they will press in like a key situation, but that was not a staple in their defense. And I wonder if they look at the defense over the last couple of years and say, hey, there's moments where we got soft. Hey, these guys did this really good against us. I think Kyle Shanahan's really good at that, where he takes what other people do well against him and then applies that to the defense he wants the 49ers to run. Maybe then they implement a little bit more press man, and that's where they got him. You know, and we know that's what Travarius Ward did in Kansas City as well. And we know Demarcus Lenoir, he calls himself the hyena. He can be aggressive at the line. So maybe they could be doing more of that, but that's definitely what Green's strength is, at least from what I've seen. I haven't gone back and watched his nickel stuff.
What do you think about his ability to play more off and play zone? Because looking at the PFF grades, he graded out as 90 in man coverage and in the 60s in zone coverage. And it seems that his strengths and how he plays might not fit great with what the 49ers traditionally have done recently and how they might deploy their cornerbacks. What did you see from his ability in zone and potentially playing more off?
Well, he didn't play a whole lot of zone. And there were times where you would see him off, but it did look like something that he needed to grow to be more comfortable doing. You know, I kind of compared it to, gosh, I'm blanking on his name now, but the corner out of, was it Roger McCreary?
Roger McCreary out of Auburn, right?
Out of Auburn, right? And you watch Roger McCreary at Auburn, a lot of press man, and did a lot of really good work from there. And then all of a sudden it's like, go to the NFL. I think they kind of moved him to nickel. He profiled a little bit more as a nickel. I think it was like 186 pounds, a little bit more slightly built, shorter arms, like 28.5-inch arms or whatever it was. They're like, okay, you're going to have to play nickel. I need to go and see how that transition was for him. But for Green, it's taking it one step at a time. Because you could teach somebody to play zone, but they have to start processing things quick. And when you've gone from one scheme where you primarily do this and play this a lot, it can be a little difficult to transition to the NFL, where not only are you doing something completely different than what you did well in college, but everything happens so much faster. And it's not like the players are really faster. It's just the timing of everything is much more on point. So you don't have the leisure to be a little bit late getting out of your break. You don't have the leisure to maybe not diagnose the route concepts as fast, because in practice we'll see it. 49ers and Brock Purdy will put the ball on the receiver as he's getting out of his break. College, you get to see guys wait a little bit. Even LSU with the kid out of California, the quarterback that won the Heisman.
Oh, Jaden Daniels, yeah.
Jaden Daniels, you can see sometimes you see guys open, waits a little bit, maybe not throwing with the most anticipation. The NFL is not like that. So if he has to improve in his off coverage, it only gets more difficult at the NFL level.
I like this comp in the chat. Shante Spencer was the last second-round cornerback we selected. Green actually reminds me of Spencer. What do you think about that? You remember Shante Spencer, number 36, right?
Number 36. Yeah. I met him at a 7-on-7 tournament. But good guy. He was a solid cornerback for the 49ers. Not great, but he was solid. It was. I don't think during that time you went into the season saying, "Oh man, Shante Spencer's here. You gotta replace him." Like, nah, he's doing a cool job.
He was solid. He was, a little taller, longer, I think. athletic,
If
linear, no skinny cornerback?
if you get that from Green, right, and we'll say throw a name out there like Terrell Brown, where Terrell Brown for the first few years, you didn't get a whole lot out of him. He ended up getting a second contract, contributed as a starting corner to like 3 straight conference championship games. You get that kind of production out of Green, you'd be extremely happy with that. Just getting a multiple year starter at that point in the draft.
He needs to be a starter, Renardo Green. You drafted a Florida State cornerback in round 2. That's where you're drafting starters on your football team. Now, it doesn't have to be week 1, year 1, but the 49ers are telling us they expect that Renardo Green's going to be a starting cornerback for them, or else they wouldn't have made that pick at 64.
Now, I'm not one that's going to complain about them 49ers taking a receiver in the first round, because I've said, like, I would love to see the 49ers, expand more in the passing game, especially the drop back passing game, and be more explosive. And I thought they did that drafting Pearsall with just his ability to separate in short areas as opposed to what you'll consistently get from Juwan Jennings. But you said he may not be like day one starter, and maybe that's the case. But don't it feel like, man, if you would have got Kool-Aid McKinstry, like that's day one starting cornerback. Yeah. If you were to get Cooper DeJean, and maybe even if he's not a corner, but like there's a day one starting spot for him at like safety. And I feel like with Green, there will be a transition. Not only are you maybe looking at him as not 100% a day one starter, but also the transition to playing potentially in a different kind of scheme, which could take time as well. So those are the things that just make it a little bit more questionable with the pick. Unless they're like, well, Croc, we're changing our philosophy, but you don't know that because you just sit behind a computer on Locked On. Then I said, hey, all right, you got it.
Yeah, there are some things left unknown that are unknowable for us sitting here, things that might potentially change with the new defensive coordinator for the 49ers. So maybe that's part of the entire conversation here. Yeah. So with Renardo Green, great pick if he develops into a starter. You would think that he is ready to play early though, and should be able to compete for that role as a rookie. If you're drafting older prospects, 5th-year senior, that's the argument for drafting the older prospects, is they are more developed, more ready to go. How good is he in zone? How good is he those downfield, finding the football? I think will go a long way to maximizing what Renardo Green is for the 49ers, and that'll let us know what kind of player and what kind of draft pick this is.
He will have priority over like Isaac Yiadom because he was a draft pick, but Isaac Yiadom would not just give up that spot because some of the things that I felt like the 49ers did defensively last year, Yiadom does those things well. So something to keep an eye
on. Less competition if they want Deommodore Lenoir to stay outside, and this is more of a nickel competition though, Croc. So maybe that's his earliest path to playing time.
Or a nickel defense path, right? Like we saw Chris Harris Jr. for the Broncos be in your base defense and outside cornerback. And then once it was nickel situation, he slide inside and they bring in Roby to play corner on the outside. And maybe the 49ers look at something like that where, all right, we really like Lenoir. And Lenoir is like, hey, I want to play outside corner because they get paid more. So you got Lenoir, you got Ward, and then, they sent out 3 receivers. Let's slide Lenoir inside. He plays that well. We don't have to teach someone a completely new position, and go ahead, play outside, and we're going to man up.
Next, uniform numbers. What does that tell us about Renardo Green and what these 49ers rookies will become next? This episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL in the playoffs, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props. How about rookies of the year? Offensive rookie of the year odds, Ricky Pearsall currently 50-1. You can even find those odds for Jacob Cowing, 150-1. And Isaac Guerendo's on there as well with some rookie of the year odds on the offensive side of the football on FanDuel. Tons more ways to bet on the NFL. Let me actually double check here and see if Renardo Green's on there. He is 100-1 odds for Renardo Green to be defensive rookie of the year in the NFL season. All that and more, and $150 extra if your first bet wins at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
So real quick, 100 to 1 odds.
Yeah.
That means if you put $100 down, how much? What's the payout on that? Is it like 100 times 100?
It's 100 times that. Yeah. $10,000?
Got more than that, right?
No, you just had a.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hey, not a mathematician here. So.
Yeah. Look, we all know that cornerbacks can't catch and they're not good at math. But as long as they can cover guys and get those PBUs, which Renardo Green was great at, not as great. One interception his entire career. Croc, I think the biggest downfall, I like this rookie class a lot more 24 hours ago before I saw what their rookie numbers are. Croc, number 31 for Renardo Green. Is that a shutdown corner number? Because I know you're big on the swag. You're big on numbers, how guys look in their uniforms. Here's the rundown for the 49ers rookie class. Of course, we're a little tongue-in-cheek about how any of these numbers might matter for these prospects.
You know the comments are coming. Who cares about their number?
There's something to it. I don't know what it is, what the magic is of a number. Number 14 hasn't been a big hit for the San Francisco 49ers. Ricky Pearsall, 49ers first rounder, is going to be wearing number 14. Renardo Green, second round pick, corner, wearing 31. Malik Mustafa, number 43. Tatum Bethune has been issued number 48, seventh round linebacker for the 49ers. Number 49, oddly enough for the 49ers, has not been a fantastic number and doesn't seem to be a strong number around the NFL. Only certain positions can rock in the 40s, Croc. And tailback isn't usually one of those. Garendo's wearing number 49 right now, at least. Jarrett Kingston, sixth round guard, number 62. The only starting caliber number in this group is number 77 for Dominic Pooney, which, as was pointed out on the socials, maybe that means they might stick at the tackle, more of a tackle number than an interior number. Jacob Cowing, number 83. And then you've got some undrafted free agent numbers. Tanner Mordecai wearing number 4. How did the undrafted quarterback Croc get a better number than anybody else the 49ers drafted? You got Mason Pline, number 89. Makes me think he might stick at tight end. Tariq Owens, Terrell's kid, wearing number 84. Number 38, running back, undrafted rookie out of Missouri, Cody Schrader. So those are just some of the numbers. Number 66 for defensive tackle, Evan Anderson. What do you think about these numbers? And how did these rookies get such ugly numbers issued to start their NFL careers, Croc?
Well, the tough thing is the rookies are the last to add to the 90-man roster. So you just have so many players, and there's a lot of players that won't be on the team by the time you cut down to 90. Then you'll see a lot of these guys switch some of their numbers. There was some movement I was a little surprised with. Mitch Wisnowski. I looked at the roster. I believe he's wearing number 3 now. So is this his third number that he
was 18, right?
And then 6. I feel like he was 6 at one point, and then 18, and then now 3. I could be off on the 6, but I feel like I saw Mitch Wisnowski wearing number 6 at one point.
You know who did Ricky Pearsall dirty is Deebo Samuel, making the switch from 19 to number 1. So number 1, Ricky Pearsall's college number, no longer available because of Deebo. But Deebo might not be around for more than 1 year, and it might alter the whole career trajectory of Ricky Pearsall if he sticks with number 14. So that's an interesting one there.
31. So there are certain numbers that, okay, if you have to have a 40s number, I think 40 numbers are hideous. I know some people will be like, Ronnie Lott was a monster. Ronnie Lott was a monster in an ugly number. All right, 42 is just ugly.
He made that number. And there's certain numbers in the 40s that work. Like 42 works, 45 works, depending on your position. 40 can work, but it depends on your position, even at safety, but better for a fullback than a safety with some of those. And if you're going to wear a number in the 40s, I think Malik Mustafa is one of those players that can pull that off because of the way he thumps. He can have a bigger number. Whereas if it was like a fast guy, you don't want to be in the 40s.
So when I was with the Jets, I knew they were going to just give me a number. And I remember telling my brother, like, man, I just hope I get number 41. Like, just please give me number 41 because that is the only acceptable 40 number. And I got 41, and I was ecstatic about that. Like, let's go. You would have thought I got the number 1 or something, but 41, fine. 31, for whatever reason, 31 and maybe 32 are two of the few numbers I would wear in the 30s. Now, Deshaun Goldson, he wore number 38. He rocked the hell out of 38. It looked good on Deshaun Goldson, but it's still an ugly number. Like now, I go back and look at pictures, and I'm like, gosh, that 38 was not great looking, but he looked good in it. So, you can make a number look better, but if I had to choose any number in the 30s, it'll probably be 30 or 31. Those so Green, I think, out of the uglier numbers, like 31 is a cool number. That's a cool one. I'd wear that.
Raheem Mostert was a 31. He rocked it, made it look really fast. That's the fastest I've ever seen number 31 look. Zach Bronson, was he 31?
30. What? No. Schulters was 30, huh?
Schulters was 30, yeah. I think Zach Bronson was 31.
Dante Whitner, 31.
Dante Whitner, a really interesting comp from Malik Mustafa that I like quite a bit. We're going to talk Malik Mustafa, get into the film on him on an episode to come. And another thing to remember with some of these is these numbers might change. And I have a feeling a lot of them might change for this rookie class. If you remember, one All-Pro Fred wore number 48 as a rookie, and he wasn't going to be an All-Pro in 48. He had to go to 54 to make that work. So you don't want to make your job more difficult to turn a bad number good. Just get a good number first and head out your development in the NFL.
They will switch their numbers quick. And, you still see some movement going on now. Diamador Lenore started off at number 38. He's now currently wearing number 2. So I'd say even Ricky Pearsall, man, you got that number 14 on. Not a great looking number. But after the cut down, there will be some better numbers available. Would they be the ones for him? Like I assume 1 won't be available. 2 won't be available. 3, because it's the punter now, won't be available. Maybe 4 because undrafted. And if I'm a receiver, and 4 was my high school number, I wore 4 all throughout high school, I would much rather have number 4.
I mean, if Ricky Pearsall wanted 4, he would have taken it before the undrafted quarterback. Is there somebody else already in 4?
No, I think they just assigned those to these guys. I bet they just assigned it.
You think you don't think you got a chance to pick it?
I don't know.
Round rookie, you don't have a chance to pick your number?
They probably just said, "Here you go, kid."
Debo did rock a pretty ugly number in 19. Most of the numbers in the teams are good, but I think 19 and 14 are the worst of the team numbers.
I think 18 and 14.
Oh, here we go. Ricky Pearsall said they did assign it. All right, so he's changing that thing then.
Yeah, see. Yeah, no. All right, real quick, because there were some changes here. So Jake Moody is 4. So that number is not moving.
Yeah, there we go. I knew there was a 4. So that was a double up number. A lot of the undrafted guys get double numbers.
Yeah. So you have Womack and 0. That might come available. We'll see.
Could.
Which now, see, like I said, he moved to 3 for whatever reason. I swear he wore number 6 at first. I swear he did, and then changed it to 18, and then now he's in 3. Moody at 4, so that won't be available. Josh Dobbs, if they end up going with the younger guy, number 5 can become available. Danny Gray, number 6. I'm not a big fan of number 6. I did wear it 1 year. I didn't care for that number. And then maybe like Braden Willis at 9 or Ronnie Bell at 10. I think those would be better numbers for Ricky Pearsall than number 14.
There we go. Great intrigue involving the rookie class and now how their numbers might etch their careers with a very different passage in those history books. We'll find out. Thanks everybody for making Locked On 49ers your first listen every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, YouTube, and everywhere you get your podcasts. Croc and I back on YouTube later this evening. Back first thing in the morning for you to end the week as well on Friday mornings. Talk to you then right here, Locked On 49ers.